Hey, welcome to the Ambitious Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Sabine, the Purpose Lawyer. And yes, we still haven't changed the sign yet, but we're going to get to it, I promise. So, thank you for being here as usual, and thank you for helping me be on purpose. Today, we're going to be once again having some legacy talk, right? We're going to talk about generational wealth and passing it on. And we love talking about that, right? We love talking about building wealth and all the ways we could build the wealth. But nobody wants to talk about the transition part of getting that wealth to the next generation, right? The generational part. And so I know it's a hard conversation to have. We don't really want to talk about it, but guess what? It's going to happen. Like it's inevitable. We cannot avoid the fact that one day we're all going to have to go um, from life as we know it right now. And so there needs to be a plan in place for that. And I know that people have experienced either their loved ones don't have the want to have the conversation with them, or you're the one who doesn't want to have the conversation. But it's not something that we should avoid. I wanted to give you guys some tips on how you could get into these conversations and to arm yourself with information. Two things that sort of came up for me when I was thinking about this is one of my clients, his he has a business that he's running. His dad has a plan in place for him, but doesn't want to talk to him about the plan. And he ended up finding about it through the grapevine, so to speak, but can't get any details and is just sort of uneasy. And I'm telling him, like, you should be happy there's a plan in place. There's a lot of people who they don't even have that much, right? So that's one step. And so the things that I'm telling you is something that could help him as well. And then also, one of my team members was pointing out to me a recent episode of Insecure, one of my favorite TV shows. Um, uh, and what happened in the show is Molly, one of the cast members, or one of the characters, I should say, she was actually encouraging her parents to do estate planning. And her parents, were sort of trying to avoid the conversation, not really wanting to do it. And she had to sort of like keep bringing it up. And it was a nice way for them to sort of, hint, hint, and let the audience know that, this is something that we should be doing. It's a thing. So I appreciated that. But yeah, it's a real thing where we're having a hard time having these conversations. So, what are some tips that you can use to sort of help you with these conversations? The first thing is to let's reframe it. Like, we're not planning for death, right? It's not about that. It's not morbid at all. You know, One of the ways is to look at it as planning for life, not only planning for your loved ones to have the best life and yourself to have the best life they can have, but also planning for the life of those you're leaving behind when you're not here. Because what's the point? What are we building it for if we're not leaving it behind, right? If we're not passing it on. And so the idea is not to start from scratch in the next generation. So we are planning for a successful life, a successful transition for the next generation to take over. So that's a good way to get the darkness out of the room, right? So the next thing you want to talk about is that there's nothing to be embarrassed about in talking about these plans, right? One generation always has to come and start and make a way in order to pass on to the next generation and give them a leg up, right? So there's nothing to be embarrassed about where they are now, whether it be debt or maybe they're uncomfortable talking about money. That's a thing too. But let's get that, let's normalize it so that it's not an embarrassing thing to talk about, but it's a good and healthy thing to do. Because what we don't want to happen is that the next generation not be able to have the full enjoyment, or, to be able to fully take advantage of what was left. We want nothing falling through the cracks. Okay. So the final thing that I want to talk about is to convey the message that it's an empowering thing to be able to make your own decision about what's going to happen later on in life when you can't make decisions anymore, and what's going to happen for your next generation. We all have the power during our lifetime. We all are empowered with, having a choice, and we don't want to leave that choice to anybody else, because it's a choice that has to be made, cannot opt out of it. And so if we don't make that decision, if our loved ones don't make that decision for themselves, somebody else is going to make it. And it's probably not going to be what you wanted. Okay. So my next guest today is a super amazing entrepreneurial woman. She is a woman who's in a space that is mostly male dominated. And then not only that, she's a woman of color and she's very successful. And for some reason, I feel like she may not have a hard time having these conversations because she has a no nonsense attitude. And she's going to share with us how that has gotten her to where she is today. Her name is Asia Denson. So don't go anywhere. Hope you enjoy. Hey, Asia.
Hi.
Welcome to my show. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that as well.
Awesome. So we just want to, talk about you and get to know who you are. Asia is so amazing. She is the first woman of color that I ever met who is in construction and bossing it up in construction. She is running her own show and just helping so many people along the way. And I definitely want to talk all about, how you got to do this.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's so dope.
No problem. So, Asia, you're from Detroit. Have you always lived there? Have you just born and raised?
I'm born and raised, but I went to college in Jackson, Mississippi. I went to the Jackson State University, which is kicking butt in football right now. So I'm so excited.
I saw you post that on Instagram. I was like, okay, she's fully vested. She's like,
Yes. I've always been that win or lose, even when we were getting dusted by everybody. So like I was in the band, so our
mhm.
band has always been great. So people will always come see the band, but now they're like, oh, we're gonna come see the football team too, because we winning.
Okay. That's
Yep.
awesome. So, how did you end up, growing up in Detroit? How did you end up going to HBCU? I know that's like it's like a big part of your culture, your life.
Yeah.
How did you end up with doing that?
Well, my cousin, she went to Spelman for like computer engineering. This was like the
Mm.
late 70s, early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So basically before I was born.
Oh,
And then
okay.
my band director, he went to Jackson State and was in the band. So when I was in middle school, that band director went to, I think he went to Southern.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go down to Jackson for like a homecoming and we marched in the parade. And I was like, man, this is cool. Like, look at all
Mm-hmm.
these black people. They're smart. Like, they're having fun and it's okay to be educated and still be yourself. And
Right.
then like Jackson State was on TV for I forgot the NAACP awards,
Oh,
like I
okay.
think late 80s, early 90s. That was the first time I had seen that. And of course, watching the Cosby
I was
show
gonna say yeah.
yeah, in a different world, that really exposed me to it. And then some of my mom friends, went to black colleges and stuff. So I was kind of around it. So I almost didn't go because I had a full ride to this
Mm.
I was going for I think it was aeronautical engineering. I had like a
Mm.
full scholarship and everything to this
Wow.
to Emory Brittle and I think it was Arizona. I was like, man, I don't want to go there. Nobody, don't nobody there look like me. I was like, man, I'm going to Jackson. And then my sister went there too,
Wow.
so she was a senior while I was a freshman, so it just worked out.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful. You got somebody who's already been, through it to sort of hold your hand through the process.
Yep. And then they made my mom feel more comfortable too.
Mm-hmm. Was that a sure thing? Like, were you always like good in school and things like that, or was it a challenge growing up in Detroit?
I was always a smart kid. I
Mm.
only used to get in trouble for talking.
Okay.
So like I would have like a 4.0, but I would have what's that, citizenship, I think it was, or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I always would have bad grades for that. And I'd
Mm-hmm.
be like, I got good grades. I don't see what the problem is. So
All right.
I remember being teachers used to get into it. I'm like, oh, so I can't talk to them. I can do my work and talk. It's not my fault that they can't talk and do their work.
Right.
So that was always a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was always pretty smart. Like I was in DAPSET, which is a really good program here for kids that's interested in science and math.
Mm.
And well, it used to be free, but I think they charge now. So
Okay.
it's that Detroit area pre-college engineering. So like elementary school and middle school, I was in that. So they had us in like advanced math and
Mm-hmm.
engineering classes back then. And then they would have other black people who worked for like the big three
Mm.
come in and like teach us and talk
The
to us.
big
So
three
it
is what the accounting firms?
Oh, I'm sorry. Big three. I forgot you're not Detroit. Big three is Chrysler, Ford, and General Motors.
Ah, okay.
So they would have like the black staff engineers from there come and talk to us. So that really was
Mm.
like, hey, it's black people out here making this kind of money and smart. and they
Right,
not
right.
like in the street. So that was kind of like my first exposure. And then OnStar, which is the amazing system we have in our cars now, I was a
Mhm.
part of that program in like 98, 99.
Oh, wow.
And then Katia was a Chrysler. It's a software that designed cars, and
Mhm.
Chrysler used to have a class for kids, and I was in that too. So at first I wanted to design cars. So it kind of worked with construction because I knew
Mhm.
I wanted to do something, but I just didn't know what.
Wow. So, did your mom get you exposed into the science? Was it her vision, or was it you where you just, like, sparked your interest?
I think it was just me because I've always liked science and math. I hate
Mm.
English. I hate English with a passion. Like, and I don't like taking tests. Like, I'm a good test taker, but I don't like them.
I hear you.
So my whole thing was like, can I just write a paper?
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
forget this test. But I don't know. I think it was mainly me because I was always interested in my mom. She was amazing.
Mhm.
Whatever we wanted to do, she made sure it happened.
I
Especially if it
love
was
that.
education. She'd be like, all right, cool.
I love that, I love that. So, and at some point after school, when did you decide that it was actually going to be construction?
While I was in Jackson, I had wanted to be an architect at first.
Mhm.
And then I found out that I had to work under somebody else until they felt I could go stay for like study for take the test.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
like, that sounds like if you
Slavery.
right. And my mind like, oh, if you an a-hole and you like, nah, I don't want this black woman taking this test, then now I
Right.
gotta go to another firm and start over. I was like, nope, scratch that. And then that's
Mm.
how I got into construction.
So
Like I make
that makes a lot
on
of
the
sense.
fly decisions a lot.
Well, it says successful people make decisions quickly, right? And they take long to
Yeah.
change their mind. So I could see that. So but wasn't construction like a male dominated field? Like did it just feel like, yeah, I could just do this, or did you feel like there were challenges or going to be challenges with that?
Well, a little bit of both. So my granddad, he had a big carpentry company in
Mm.
Alabama and Georgia. So I kind of grew up around it. And
Mm.
then my dad and brothers were brick masons. So I was
Mm.
always around it. I just didn't realize it was going to be to this magnitude. So I really wish
Right.
my granddad was still living because I know he'd be super proud
Oh.
on the site with his cowboy hat and his overalls like he was when I was a kid. So I do wish he was here for that. So I was kind of around it. And then in '07, I was an intern for MDOT, which is Michigan Department of Transportation. And that was my
Mm.
first time really in construction. So I
Mm.
was a highway engineer co-op, like intern. And when I
Mhm.
got my first check, I'm like, this is what I'm about to do. Cause
Right.
if I'm an intern and I'm making a couple grand a month and I'm an
Wow.
intern, what am I gonna make like after this internship is over? So
Mhm.
that's really what made me be like, I'm doing construction and I'm sticking with it. And then I switched to residential. It wasn't by choice.
Mm.
The company I worked for, I was making like 35, 40 an hour. So I was
Mhm.
making very good money, but I
Mm.
only worked from April to October. So she ended up moving her company to Charlotte. And I
Oh.
got like a little 6 month heads up. So I was able to save. So it kind of forced me to be like, all right, as you've been BSing with this idea of having your own construction company, now it's time to do it. So
Mhm.
I tell people all the time, when you broke and like lost everything and your back against the wall like
Mhm.
me, like your hustle be a whole lot different. Cause
It
my
hits a
whole
little
thing was,
different, huh?
yeah, cause my whole thing was like, if this don't work, which it will, cause that's how I think. But
Mhm.
if it don't, I got this engineering degree and I can always go back and get a job.
Mhm.
But then when the money started coming in after, that 5th year is always the truth. Once that 5th year happened and stuff started taking off, I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't even spell job.
You like,
Nope.
"No, I don't know what that means. Don't talk to me about
Nope.
no job."
Employee. I can't spell that. Nope.
You said that, your mindset is always, that is going to happen, that, it's gonna be successful. How did you get that?
That's definitely my mom, my
Mm.
family. I remember telling my family, like, all right, I'm about to start my company. And my family has always been very supportive from day one.
Mhm.
And I remember my goddad, he said, all right, Asia, I'm going to support you, but if you ain't going to do this, I don't want to hear it no more. And that's how my family is. You're not going to keep talking about what you're going to
What you
do.
about to do, okay.
Yeah, and you ain't did it because especially my mom, she will keep asking you, when you gonna
Mm.
do this? When you gonna do this? And it's gonna make you so mad to where you like, I gotta do it.
Right. That's
So it
good,
kind
that's
of
the
worked.
motivation.
Yeah, so it kind of worked out.
Yeah, and it's good that they're pushing you to do what you said you wanna do, right? It's like they're holding you
Yeah.
accountable, and that's really important to have people in your corner who's like, "Okay, this is what you wanna do, so let me," instead of saying, "You ain't gonna do this." You ain't
Oh
gonna,
no, not my family. They'll
Mhm.
fight you about me or like or about each other. Like my family is very oriented. Like we're real big. Like
Mhm.
before COVID, we would have a Friday fish fry, spades night. Like in my family, we're very competitive. So it
Wow.
just so funny.
I
But
love
it's pretty.
that.
Yeah, my family's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. So what did you how did you go about starting your business? Is just like getting licenses and then you just build a team? Was it like that easy?
I started. Well, the first name was think it was AD construction and management. I was like, that is too long. And then the next day I woke up, was like, boom, Denson construction services. So I went and changed the name. So I
Mhm.
still was working. So I was like BS. And I think I made like 12 grand a year in the company. Like, all right, whatever. When
Mhm.
I lost my job and was losing my condo, that changed everything.
Wow.
So it kind of I didn't get my license. I didn't even know I needed a license till like
Mhm.
probably that next summer. I thought, oh, I need a license because I was working,
Right.
but I didn't know I needed a license. So I went and studied for my test. I passed August 2012,
Mhm.
and then just went from there. Then I started finding about all these different certifications I can get, like my woman owned, minority owned. I
Mm.
found out my dad, he's a veteran. So I even told him the other day, like, you're about to be added as 49%. So now I can be woman owned, black owned, not
And
veteran owned,
veteran.
and that's more
Mm.
stuff that I can go get. So it kind of just went like that. I never had a business plan. I
Mhm.
remember going to a free class my college had when I was down there for like a homecoming. I was like, all right, go. And
Mhm.
then when I found out all you had to write, remember, I don't like
You're not
English.
right.
So I was like, nah, I just know what I wanted to do and just did it. Like I've never wrote a business plan. I think I had like maybe 2 sentences. I'm like, this is too much.
Mhm. It's
And that,
wow.
that
So it sounds like, things just like kind of happened. And I'm sure it's due to, your mindset and you just like being positive about anything. But did you have any challenges along the way?
Yeah, I had challenges like
Mm.
a lot of broke days.
Mm.
I'm grateful to my mom to this day. When I told her I was losing my house, she
Mm.
was like, "Baby, just come home. Don't worry about nothing." And
Mm.
once she gave me that A-OK, could nobody stop me like after that point. So that was definitely a challenge. Being
Awesome.
a woman was a challenge the first couple years because
Mm.
I used to do free estimates like most contractors, right?
Okay.
And people would just be like, "Oh, I wanted to see if you was a girl." I'm like, "Are you serious? I done came out
What?
here wasting my gas, my time. I'm
Mhm.
broke, remember? So I can't really
Mhm.
afford to
To
be
come over
doing
here.
right these pointless estimates.
Mhm.
So that was that. And then I remember one Sunday I went to look at this lady's house.
Mhm.
Walking Dead was coming on. That's my show, and I
Right.
missed it.
Oh.
And she was like, I gave her the estimate, and then she was like, "Oh well, I only wanted to know if you was a female and what you was gonna charge. I'm gonna have my uncle do it." I was like, "This will never happen again." So like,
Wow.
I'm charging $50. At the time, nobody in Detroit was charging for estimates. Nobody. I
Wow.
really think I was the first one. And
Mm.
then I started going up to 75, 100, 150. Now I'm at 250. And the busier I get, I'm just gonna keep upping the price because it keeps weeding out a lot of BS. And I started getting way better contracts. Like once I started
Mm.
charging, because people, if they respect your time, they gonna pay.
Oh, I love that. That is really important. Um,
That
yeah, it's really important. They say like people value more what they have to pay for sometimes.
I
And
agree with that.
yeah, and being a woman in business, a lot of people try you like that to see like, okay, they want to see how much they could get for free. They want to see if they could, if you gonna be a pushover, if they could walk all over you. So
Right.
I love that you figured that out and was like, no, this is how we gonna do it.
Yeah, I think what really helped me too is like in the process of studying for my builder's license, I went to carpentry school,
Mm.
and I only did that so I wanted to really learn the trade itself, not just the business. Because so a lot was going on 2012 to 14. So I'm in grad school getting my construction management master's. I'm
Hmm.
going to carpentry school, and I'm studying for my test. And a
Wow.
lot of people like that's a lot. I'm like, it really wasn't because it all worked itself out and was kind of all the same thing. So
Okay.
the master's taught me the business part because I realized most black contractors don't know nothing about construction business. They know how
Mm.
to do the job, but they don't know the business side as far as what rights we have, how we're protected,
Right.
and what rights the clients have and stuff like that. So that really started setting me apart. So I started getting contractors who like I done heard about you. I heard you protect us. I just want to work with you.
Mm.
Or, and it's to the point now where my subs, they'll sign whatever I put in front of them. I'm not a, a grimy person,
Right.
thankfully, but, like, cause they trust me. And then I realized that men just want to work. They ain't trying to talk to nobody, cause their patient is not going to be like me and your patient. We're women, so we got more patience. We're nurturers. They like, hey man, this is the price. Can you pay? No,
That's it.
bye. That's it. And if they get into it, now you got egos and testosterone. So I'm kind of like, that buffer. So it kind of worked itself out. So I have an amazing team. In 11 years, I only got, effed over twice. And that only happened when I was trying to grow too fast. And I was trying to get more subs. So now it's to the point where I just keep rocking with the same people I got. And if I can't get to you, I just can't get to you.
I see. So do you want to talk about those experiences where people screwed you over?
Sure. Well, I'll talk a little bit because 2 is about to go through litigation.
Oh yeah, whatever you want to share.
When I was about to start the lawsuit process with those subs, COVID happened, so all the courts were shut down. So I'm just now being able to. So the first one was this one contractor. He's not licensed at all, but his whole staff has license. And I never wanted to be like that because if that staff member wants to leave, I'm screwed. Right. So that's why I always make sure I got the license, and then I just sub out to people I see fit. Because if I sub out, my license is on the line for that person, so you can't just let everybody work under you. Yeah. So this person,
I just want to create some clarity. So subbing out is you're the general contractor, you have the contract for the job, and you hire specialties, right, to come in and do the work.
Yeah, so I hire all my carpenters. I hire them do all so the carpentry side is everything but electrical, plumbing, heating, and cooling. And that's it. So carpentry, your windows, all the finished work, your drywall, all that's carpentry. So I would sub that out. I sub out my trades because they still have to be licensed. So the heating and cooling guy got to be licensed, the plumber and the electrician. Because I only deal with licensed people and journeyman carpenters. Because they have something to lose.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah, so as a GC or a general contractor, I get the contract between me and you, and then I will sub out that contract between me and somebody else, and they do the work.
Okay, got it. All right, so get back to the story.
Little construction 101 there.
Construction 101 in a bite.
I forgot we were talking about beforehand. I'm sorry.
We were talking about, you were saying how there was only 2 times that you got screwed over, and you were going to share part of one story.
Yes. So this person wasn't licensed, so they wanted me to come on as their qualifying officer. So in Michigan, when you become a licensed residential builder, you get the license, age of Denson, and then you can apply for your company to get the license. So as a qualifying officer, I can come work under Sabine Construction, Sabine Contracting and Sons. I can go work for all these other different companies under that license. Okay. And then the company license is still licensed by itself. So I'm like, all right, well, cool, I do it. Plus you, and that's one time I really realized people lie. So he allegedly was this big $1 million contractor, but I couldn't tell, but that's another story. Okay. So I was like, well, I'll help him because I'm very, very organized. Like I just hired my first VA last November. So for 10 years, I was doing everything by myself. So I was the estimator, customer service, human resources, the project manager. I'm going to get materials. So I'm doing my mom, she would help a lot too. So I was doing everything myself. So he like, well, I need your help on the organization side. And in return, I'll teach you what I know. So I'm like, all right, cool. I don't mind, trading, bartering services if it's going to help me grow in the long run. Right. But he ended up with me. He ended up not finishing the contract. I had to call in some of my subs and they came in because they got my back just like I got theirs, and I was able to send it. So now I had to go after him for the difference of what I had to pay because he just literally walked up the job.
Wow. And those are just the challenges. Like sometimes people think that business is, if you hear a good story, that it's going to be all good, all the time.
No, that's one. And then the person who connected me to him, I told him about it. That's why now I don't take referrals from nobody. Let me find out on my own. So now instead of giving people a whole contract, I started you off small, like a clean out, cutting the grass. If you can't cut the grass on time, I know you can't, paint this house and do a full renovation on time. So I started them off small like that. So the person that connected us,
Mhm.
he had his own, it's a black owned supply company here.
Mhm.
So when I told him, he told him like, hey, your money no good here. So it really messed his name up out here,
Oh,
which
wow.
I don't care. So I ain't lost no sleep over it.
I oh man, that's crazy. But I love how you sort of just like, listen, we're gonna fix it. We're gonna do it right because our name is what's important, you know?
Oh, my name is everything. Like if
Mhm.
my name is on it, that's why I tell people as a general contractor, you really have to be careful about who you sub out work to.
Mhm.
And because your name is on the contract, they don't know nothing about Sabine Construction and Sons.
Right.
My name is on the contract. So my reputation is what's important to me. So I took a loss on that job. I didn't make no money. I had to go into my own pocket just to
Mhm.
finish it because I started it and I want to finish something. So I'm
Mhm.
really big on, my name and protecting it.
Yeah, 100%. And you say a lot how people, this is how they mess up their job by not hiring me. Right?
Oh, all
That's what you
the
say
time.
all the time.
All
What
the time.
and is it just that because I know contractors get a bad rep. Is it just that, just all these contractors are just dishonest? What do you feel like sets you apart so much?
Um, Unfortunately, it's way more bad than good contractors. It just is.
Mm,
It
mhm.
just unfortunately. I just been blessed to have an amazing team. Having a praying mother always works too.
Yeah.
Because she always would pray that I get good people, I get good help, I get good contract. Like every day my mom was like, I pray for you to get a big contract. So that's huge. But
Mhm.
I think it's greed is a lot of it.
Mm.
Unfortunately, it's more men in construction, so unfortunately, a lot of them do take advantage of people,
Okay.
especially women investors. But on the flip side, women investors have been my worst clients because
Really?
they can't separate. I'm like, you're not
Mm.
living here. This house does not need Travertine tile.
Okay.
Like, and then we a clash because like they're emotional and I'm being logical because as a
You
woman,
know
I
the
tell
business.
yeah, like I mean, I cry, I'm a nurturer and stuff like that, but they ain't
Mm.
gonna see it on the job site. Like,
Mhm.
but the women have been the worst. Like the lawsuits I've had and won, I'm like 4-0 right now. Um,
Hey.
right? Um, it's been with women,
Mm. Why
and
do you
it's
feel
women
like
that look
that? Do you
like
feel
us.
like it's a respect thing? Do you feel like they don't wanna see you win, so they're doing it purposefully? Why do you think that is?
I don't think it's want to see me win. I
Mm.
think it's that a lot of women just think they know everything and they don't.
Mm.
And I'm like, you're gonna
Okay.
tell me 11 years in construction. That's
Mhm.
why you got screwed. Like every time, and this is what happens every time I start off with a client and they leave and find somebody else cheaper, they always come back every time. And then I tax them
Wow.
so heavily because you should have listened to me the first time. But some people hard head, like my mama said, soft head, make soft ass, hard head, make soft ass. So I'm just saying it's crazy. But I
Yeah.
do think that's a part of it, it's the emotions. Um, think they know everything.
Mhm.
I always thought men would be my worst clients because I'm coming into their field, but men don't be the problem. They listen to me.
Really? That is interesting. I was talking to Erica a few weeks ago. I know she's your good
Mhm.
friend. And
That's my own.
yeah, she was telling me how in trucking that she had a lot of pushback, from men not want to work for her just because she's a woman. And I would have
Yeah.
thought that you would have had that same experience, but you're like,
I
no.
did at the beginning, but
Mhm.
I kind of earned my respect because when a lot of contractors know that I know what I'm doing and that I know construction, that
Mhm.
helps. And on top of that, I pay. So a lot
Mm.
of business owners say they should pay themselves first. I don't agree with that in construction. I
Mm.
always pay my subs first, then my supplier, and I get paid last if on the job I get paid at all.
Mm.
'Cause it depends on like if I had to, fire somebody or something like that, or if I underbid and made a mistake, I got to eat that mistake. I can't come back and be like, oh, I forgot to add this. I just got to eat it.
Mm.
So I think that helps me too, because all my subs know when I call, the money is on the floor. It is there. It is cleared. Like I wait 14 days for my payments to clear before I start any job. I don't ever want to give a sub a check and then my check bounce
Right, right,
and then,
right.
then I mess up my relationship. So I think that helps a lot too. And then me coming from highway construction, that
Mhm.
helped too. Because I didn't really curse for real until I got in construction.
You didn't really curse
Like
for
I
real?
curse, but I ain't cuss
It was light.
until yeah.
Mhm.
Because I remember my first day on the highway, I got cussed out. I didn't even do nothing. I'm like, what?
Right.
So then I told my boss, and he's like, all right, Asia, I'm gonna tell you this. You in this male field. I know
Mhm.
you black, we white, but you gotta have nuts when you come out here. Next time they cuss you out, you cuss back. I was like, I can cuss back?
Mhm.
Say
He's like,
less.
"My mama
And
told
after
me
that,
don't cuss."
I mean, I cuss, but it wasn't like a sailor until I
Right.
got into construction. So
Wow.
after that, the next day he came with that same mess. I went off on, no more problems.
Wow. Did you have mentorship like that in the field where that kinda helped you? Did that person play a big role, or were there other people like that who helped you?
Yeah, my boss on the highway, Bill, he was a cool guy. Like he
Mhm.
was actually a white boy from Detroit. So
Okay.
I could tell when the white boys actually be from Detroit because how they act, and
Right.
not the ones who grew up in like Mount Clemens or something.
Right.
So like he really like he was probably the first like kind of like, all right, Asa, this is what you do. And then I
Mhm.
remember when I told him, he's like, hey, they cuss you out, you cuss their ass back out. I'm like,
Mhm.
that's it. Like that's it. I was like, cool.
And that
I'm
worked
like
out.
that works.
I love that, I love that.
Yeah, it
Um,
wasn't a lot of women on the highway. Like, I'm still cool with one other girl, but I think it was like five of us.
yeah, you just I don't hear it a lot. Mean, I see women in construction sometimes. I did
Mm.
know someone who works in construction, but you don't see it a lot. So is it something where you're like you could do it if it's something that you desire, or do you feel like you need a special kind of something to do it?
I think women would do great in construction because we're nurturers and we listen. We don't have egos. So
Mm.
like men, like they be getting onto a job. So I'd be like, are y'all done? Like, but one thing I respect about men so much, they're not like women. If they get into it, they make up and they
And it's
back being
done.
cool.
Yeah.
Us, no, we hold 50-year grudges or whatever. So I respect that about them. They get into it and go get a beer and they back besties again.
Right.
So I think as women, we do great in construction because I look at quality way better than than I think a male will. So
Okay.
like when I'm done with a project, I walk through with a blue roll of tape and I'm marking the house up. Like, nope,
Mm.
miss this, miss that. And they just come behind me and fix whatever.
Okay.
Men on the other, I don't think they pay attention to quality as much
Mm.
or
Okay.
maybe detail as much as,
Mhm.
but I think women as a whole would do great. We're more organized, especially if you a parent, like you got kids, you got the organized soccer practice and all this other stuff. So I think women should definitely get into either the trade itself or on the construction side. It's
Mm.
just that we have to keep those emotions in check all the time.
Right, right. No crying on the job site.
Yeah, no crying. You cry in the car, but not on the job site.
I hear you. So, Adrian, did you find any challenges with leadership? Because you said like men, they don't give you a hard time, or they haven't given you a hard time in a long time. And so, but did you and within yourself find challenges like, oh, I got to tell these guys what to do, or was that something that you had easy time to do?
At first, yeah, because I didn't want to come off as being like overbearing or
Mm,
their mom or their
mm,
woman. So
hmm.
I had to like, separate that. But now it's to the point like they don't even want to hear my mouth. So they'll just do it because they know I'm just come over there like, really? This what
Hmm.
we doing? But we all got good relationships. Like I'm actually really good friends with most of my subs. So because we've been working together so long.
Okay. Okay. And
It
how
kind of
did
worked.
that's good. How did your life change? Because you said for 11 years you was doing everything for yourself, or for the most part. And so
Mm-hmm.
how did it change? And I'm assuming it was for the good when you got help.
Well, the VA I got, she's only part time right now. So
Mhm.
my next person to hire is probably an office manager.
Mm,
So thank God for technology. I don't even answer my phone no more. Like I
that's
hire
good.
a virtual assistant company, so they answer that.
Mhm.
But she definitely helped just with the little 10, 20 hours she works a week.
Mhm.
So what made me get her is that I knew in order for me to go to my next level that I want in my head of business plan, because now I'm
Right.
writing it down. Um, I knew I needed help. And I
Mm.
know for me to go there, because I'm like, if I'm doing $500,000 a year by myself,
Mhm.
if I could duplicate myself, that'd take me to 1 million or 2 million a year. Like I already know
Right.
that. So it's just the person that I want to hire, I want to be able to pay them well. Like
Mhm.
I believe in paying people well, like
I
with
love that.
vacation and stuff like that. So when it's time for me to hire that office manager, I want to be like, okay, here go 50,000 a year, and you ain't even got to come to the office. You can work from home.
Mhm. Mhm.
I just need you to answer, or not even answering the phone. I still keep my virtual assistant because you just call people back,
Right.
answer their questions because people still like talking to a live English
person.
speaking person. So
Yes, you're right. You're right. Especially stuff that's like personal, like construction. You're gonna come to my home or, whatever it is, and
yeah.
I want to know who I'm dealing with. So that makes a lot of sense. I,
Mm,
I just want to commend you because I worked on my own for like 4 years, and once I started getting help, I realized like how much I needed the help. But like for you to do
yeah.
that for so long and be so successful, like your flowers.
Oh, thank you.
You're so
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you.
Definitely.
But
Mhm.
technology helps a lot too.
Yeah.
I think that's what helped me grow too was the tech because I got an industrial engineering background, so I brought that into my company, and that
Mm.
set me apart. Like only reason I got on Instagram is because I was tired of how they were showing Detroit. I'm like, Detroit is not like that. And I literally
Right.
turned my phone around and was like, this is the Detroit I know. And I'm walking the river showing all the nice houses
Mhm.
that we have. So a lot of my clients, I just started doing homeowners probably the last 4 years. Before that was all investors.
Okay.
So a lot of them are out of state or out the country and they needed ways to pay.
Mm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that kind of helped me out. That helped me a lot,
Oh,
like
wow.
just being tech savvy and stuff like that.
That's wonderful. So H, I wanted to know because you're making such an impact because even though you feel like, or I don't even know if you feel like that, but you're in Detroit and you're changing the market over there, but you're really impacting people who see you who are like, oh my God, I can be a boss, I could be a woman, I could lead, I could be in construction and do all these things. So, what does legacy mean to you, and how do you feel like you're creating a legacy?
Legacy is important to me.
Mhm.
That's why I was like, dang, I guess I gotta have some kids because who I'm passing on to. I mean, my
Right.
little cousin, she's getting interested in construction because like I take her on job sites when she lives in South Carolina.
Okay.
So when she's with me, I remember it like I think it was like 2 summers ago. I took her every year she get good grades. We go on a big trip to
Mhm.
Universal Studios. Every year
Awesome.
I get good grades, we out of here.
Nice.
So one day she asked me, she was like, Asia, how you always got time for me? And then I was like, she's like, no, you always had time for me. Like, you don't work. I was like, I do work. And
Yeah.
then she started asking what I do because I'm a firm believer in not throwing things on people. I rather you come to me and then I can
Right.
ask you the questions and go from there. So
That's
she
good.
started to get interested because she like at the high school, I don't know if I want to work. She's 11.
Wow.
If I get her now, I got 7 more years till she 18, and I'm like,
Right.
you can like I could pass it on to her or something like that. So
Mhm.
legacy is important. I have a nephew now, so maybe he'll be interested or something. But legacy is definitely important to me because it's
Mm.
kind of like, what am I doing this for if I don't have nobody to
To
pass
pass
it
it
down to?
on. Mhm. But I think also in addition to passing down your business and your assets that you're making a mark anyway. You know what I mean? Like you being influential in her life, being able to show her experiences and show her that, you could be an independent, business owner and have time and live life. So I feel like that you still are leaving, a legacy. But yeah, you want to just think about who's gonna get all
Yeah.
this stuff.
If she be interested, we be in the car and like when I gotta go off, I'd be like, put your beats on. Cause you can't hear this. So she'll put them on and we watching something on the iPad, like, can you hear me? And then
Yeah,
I tell her, all right, she can't hear, cool. Now, like I was saying, blah, blah, blah.
right.
So
And so this one is a little bit of a deep question, but I think it's good for us
okay.
to think about while we're here and we're well and all that stuff, um, so that we can maybe do something about it if we want to. So, how do you want to be remembered?
Mm. I want to be remembered
Mm.
as an honest, probably too honest person. I say what I mean what I say.
Mhm.
I'm not afraid of nobody. I was always taught that.
Love
Don't
that.
be afraid of nobody. And that I'm a silly person. Like I'm real silly. Like if I'm not smiling, something is wrong.
Yeah, every time I seen you, you have the biggest smile. Your energy is up. So I could definitely attest to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a serious question. I'm gonna have to think about that some more.
It is, and that's the goal. Just, think about it. You don't have to make no decisions, but, let it
Yeah.
be part of your
I think I will also add to that
mhm.
I love Detroit. Like I love
Mm,
this city, like the good, the bad, the ugly. Like people
right.
DM me all the time, like, thank you, Asia, for putting the city on because we
Mhm.
ain't this, we ain't that. I'm like, yeah, Detroit, we just like any other urban city, stuff happens here. Like I'm not a part of that life, so I
Right.
can't relate.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I saw you post something the other day with like houses of people who came from Detroit, like Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Was it like
It was a
who-
Motown one. I got it from
yeah.
what's their page? Black Detroiters. They post a lot of positive stuff about black people from Detroit. Like I love that
Oh.
Instagram page.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." So, yeah, you definitely put Detroit on the map for me, and I know, a lot of people who never really knew or knew and wanted to get involved in Detroit, but it's like, I'm afraid, I don't know. So I think you
Yeah.
definitely brought light to that.
I think dealing with in Detroit's market, like we have a very unique market, like our market. Like
Mhm.
when I first came to New York and spoke at Matt thing and I
Mhm.
think 19 when I met you,
Yeah.
I couldn't live there. Your houses are too close together. Y'all don't have any yards. Like I was like, we have yards here. Like we have a front back yard on the side of the house. Like we
Yeah.
have yard. And I was like, I could live here. And then
Yeah.
Matt was telling me like what y'all houses cost. I'm like, do you know how many houses I could buy for one of y'all houses?
Yes.
I was like, that
Crazy.
is sad. I couldn't live there. It's just too much.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, when you have the comparison, and that's the other thing, like, being in real estate and having been able to go to different areas and meet people like you, it opened up my eyes because I'm like, when you're in New York, you think that's the whole world, it's nothing else. But
Right.
going to these other cities is like, wow, like you can have a lot more, or there are different ways you could design your life. It don't have to be,
Mhm.
this one way, and there's other opportunities out there. So,
Yeah, that's why I tell people to come to Detroit. Like, don't just look at what's online. Like, come.
mhm,
That's how I started doing the tours of Detroit. Because when
mm,
clients would come in, I would take them around, and then one of my clients like, "Hey, you could really charge for this." I'm like, "For real?" And
yeah.
then I put it out there, and they start selling out. I'm like, "Oh,
Wow.
cool."
There goes another stream of income.
Yep. Because I'm like, I know Detroit, so. And then we would take people from $10,000 houses up to $2-3 million houses. I'm like, yeah, we got $1 million houses on the waterfront in Detroit
Wow.
with a boat dock. like, like
Right.
Detroit has some beautiful houses, and we have like the most brick houses across, I think, any U.S. major city.
Wow. So that's a very big thing there, masonry, right?
Yep.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much, Asia, for being here with me.
Thank you for having me. This was dope. I don't even feel like it was an interview. Like we were just talking, catching up.
Yes, that's exactly how it should feel. Awesome. So how can people find you if they want to, be a part of everything that you're doing?
Well, the business number is 313-288-8051.
Mhm.
Email is info@dcsllc.pro. And my Instagram is at Denson Construct Serve. If you want to come to the personal page, which is not always about business, uh,
But she is fun, guys. If you want to have fun with Asia, she will have you dying.
that one is Lady Contractor. But I
Okay.
make more money on that page than I do my business page, which is crazy. I'm like, oh, this stuff
Really?
I'm posting. Y'all want to do business with me?
That's funny because people love real. Like they want to know who they're doing business with, and when they know that you're living a real life, and that makes them feel comfortable because they know who they're
Yeah.
getting.
I definitely stay in my lane. Like what it is what you see. No more,
Mhm.
no less.
That is beautiful, and that's why we love you.
Oh, thank you. Love you too, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yep. All right. Thank you, Asia.
All right, thank you.
All right.